the shooting range. In this episode, pages of history, gas turbines and diesels in tanks, arsenal, arms for a long-range fighter, and metal beasts, the Stealthiest edition. When we add new vehicles, there's always some impressive machines with loud names. They grab everyone's attention, so you can't really ignore them. But there's also a different kind of vehicle, the kind that's pretty easy to miss. Sometimes it has to do with a modest name, but sometimes, like with this highlight, it's also due to a tiny size. Please welcome an armored reconnaissance scout vehicle, the XM800T. The main combat advantage of this machine is its extreme mobility. Its rear houses an engine with 285 horsepower. Please note that its mass is only 8.5 tons. Its top speed can reach 88 kilometers per hour. On the one hand, impressive. On the other hand, our game does have machines that can push 100. In any case, you don't really get to dash around at that speed in actual battles. Dynamics and acceleration are much more important. And that's where this vehicle can truly shine. Besides, it's fast on any surface, unlike the wheeled Fox. The only caveat is the reverse speed. 14 kilometers an hour seems way below the expected maximum for a vehicle like this one. So, in case of danger, you'd want to make a U-turn to retreat instead of reversing. This American vehicle is similar to the British Fox, but there's one notable difference: armament. The main caliber of the XM800T is a 20mm autocannon with elevation angles ranging between -20 and +65 degrees. Even its best rounds can't penetrate 70mm of armor up close, so that means it wouldn't pen the sides of many medium tanks, and you shouldn't even try the heavies. On the other hand, this autocannon has a great rate of fire, making it an amazing tool against aircraft. With a two-plane stabilizer and enviable aiming speed, you can engage in proactive combat, even with multiple enemies at once. And since the depression angles are just as good, the landscape is your dearest friend. All in all, the XM800T is a very dangerous predator for light vehicles, including its main competitor from the UK. Next, we usually talk about survivability, but this Scout has almost none. The armor is aluminum and won't even protect against large-caliber MGs, while the size makes the internal layout super tight. So its only defensive measures are stealth and speed. Thankfully, you can hide this baby pretty much anywhere, and hide from just about any chaser. And of course, you should never forget one of the key features of this machine: active scouting. If you see a target you can't handle, just mark it for your allies and move on. Gas turbine engines and tanks have been a point of heated arguments since their conception. On the one side of the scale, they offer a high power-to-weight ratio, compact size, and low requirements for fuel. On the other hand, they're fuel-hungry, unreliable, and pretty demanding towards their usage environment. Only a few tanks with gas turbines ever made it to production, and their designs remain arguable to this very day. One of the most widely known machines is the American Abrams. By the way, this tank could have been using a diesel. The prototype XM1 from General Motors used a classic engine and performed on par with its competitor, made by Chrysler. The diesel was even a bit cheaper, but the DoD officials still opted for the 3-shaft gas turbine engine with 1,500 horsepower. Two of the main advantages it offers are great acceleration and the ability to run on various fuels. A gas turbine can be fed diesel, gasoline, and even jet fuel. As for the flaws, a gas turbine consumes fuel in buckets and requires a sophisticated cooling system, which in turn needs a careful touch from a skilled repair crew. On the other side of the pond, the USSR began developing gas turbine engines in the 1960s. The T-62 was the first tank to try and fit one on. The prototype offered a much higher power-to-weight ratio and mobility than the base version, but never reached production. The official reason was high fuel consumption, but we can also suspect another one. By the time the tests were done, a gas turbine T-64 was ready. For the next few years, engineering teams of various design bureaus tried to push a gas turbine into the newest tank's engine compartment, until they redesigned it from scratch. Eventually, a team from Leningrad, headed by Nikolai Popov, created Object 219, the future T-80. At the time, the MBT offered an unprecedented combination of armor, mobility, and firepower. The army took it in. The factories made a few thousand of them, but the tank never took root. The engineers continued working on diesel alternatives for turbines. One of the main competitors was the Ukrainian 6TD, a compact boxer engine that offered lower fuel consumption than the turbine ones, but a similar power output. During the last years of the Cold War, the Soviet Union also produced the T-80UD tank that came equipped with the 6TD1 engine, which is sometimes called the might-have-been future of the T-80 family. Other nations never chose gas turbine engines as the main power plants for their tanks, but the type still had some use. For instance, the Swedish STRV-103 employs both a diesel and a gas turbine that can work in combination or as standalone engines. The French engineers devised a similar solution when working on the Leclerc MBT. While the Swedish tank basically has two fully functional engines, the French one uses the turbine as an auxiliary for the main 1500 horsepower diesel, providing faster acceleration and an emergency option in case it fails. Nowadays, we have tanks with all kinds of power plants, and only time will tell what future vehicles will pick as their main drivers. The new missiles added to our game focused players' attention on the most modern aircraft, while the earliest carriers of active radar homing missiles lost the limelight. Today we'd like to remember the planes that could engage in long-range air combat before it became popular. Besides, there's a new Iranian version joining the American Tomcats pretty soon. Just like in real life, the F-14's trump card is the unique AIM-54 Phoenix missile. Even put up against modern munitions, they're a dangerous weapon that can hit targets at enormous distances. In addition to that, these fighters have close-range weapons with infrared homing. You don't get to use the Sidewinders in every battle, but it's still a good idea to keep a couple of them on their special pylons. There's an alternative to the Phoenix missile, the AIM-7. It's better in close combat, but you don't really want to fly the heavy F-14 near the hotspots. If you really want the Sparrows, we recommend you combine them with the AIM-54 and use them in the second attack, once you deplete all your long-range munitions. The largest variety of air-to-air munitions is found on the Iranian version, also known as the Persian Tomcat. Its wing hardpoints can carry up to 2 Soviet R-27Rs or just as many unique Sigil missiles. The latter can't boast high maneuverability, but their energy is pretty impressive. You can also install another unique missile under the fuselage, the active radar homing Fakur 90. Both on the outside and the inside, it's very similar to the Phoenix. Their range is especially impressive. The Tomcats have recently received the capability to carry drop tanks. They had enough fuel for long fights even without them, especially when attacking at high altitudes, so we believe it's a good idea to avoid them, unless you're playing on an extra-large map. Next is CAS. The F-14A's arsenal is limited to unguided weapons. Pick bombs of the biggest caliber for the fuselage hardpoints, 2,000 pounds. Other options are either less convenient or offer no advantage in the number of drops. The wing pylons are best kept reserved for air-to-air missiles or filled with blocks of Zuni rockets. The latter are good against enemy anti-air defenses. The Iranian version brings something special here as well. It can use some really powerful rockets placed on its wing pylons, the Yasser. They're basically 750-pound bombs with rocket engines. The F-14B, also known as the Bombcat, can use laser-guided bombs in addition to conventional ones. We believe the best set is 2 GBU-10s and a couple of GBU-16s. Tell us in the comments what other vehicles you'd like to see in the arsenal. Meanwhile, we'll answer some of your questions. The first question was sent by a player called Matse Chacha. Can you please make a video of the Mirage F1 Premium? How to use it? Hi there! We've already talked about the Tech Tree Mirage in episode 297. It's very similar. The flight performance hasn't changed since then, so feel free to watch it. Today we'd say that the Mirage F1's main advantage is the Magic 2 missile that offers great hit chances when launched from the rear. Tom Yackel asks, what's the best way to play the Spitfire from 7.7 when you have to face much faster jet planes and they don't want a dogfight? Hi Tom. Late Spitfires, much like other similar props, offer higher climb rates than early jets. So go up at the start of a battle and dive to accelerate before you attack a faster enemy. Another question comes from War Tommy. What's the long rod on the engine deck of the Jagd Tiger? Hey Tommy, it's just a machine gun stand. Jan Bertil Lundström Reedy writes, me now thinking that the IKV is amphibious. Hello, Jan. You see, this tank required a pretty long preparation before going into the water, and the crew needed to install some special protection for the engine before it could be submerged. That's why the IKV-91 can't float in the game. And the last comment for today was written by Hans Souza BR. I'd really like you to talk about the Brazilian AMX A1. Hey Hans, we do have this plane in our plans. You'll see it soon on the shooting range. That's it for today. You've been watching The Shooting Range by Gaijin Entertainment, and the next episode will premiere the following Sunday at 4 p.m. GMT or noon Eastern Time. Subscribe and click the bell if you don't want to miss our next videos. Don't forget that Tomcats don't have 9 lives. Leave a like, share your thoughts and comments, and see you next week.